Good morning, evening, afternoon. Hey guys, Moss Ajadi here. Welcome to Moss on Sunday. Today we have another jam-packed episode on the first principles on why things happen the way they do. Again, welcome to Moss on Sunday, Life Explained. This time we're going to be talking about eating disorders, what they are, what causes it. Let me get my notes here so we're pretty clear. But like always, this is an experiential show. So it's not just about, say, knowledge that feeds your brain, but knowledge that feeds your soul. Uh, Demi, can you turn down your. No, thanks, buddy. Alrighty. So, um, so what we're going to go through is what causes eating disorders. What are the different types of eating disorders? How can you recognize the signs and symptoms? What are the health consequences of eating disorders, and how are eating disorders treated? Alrighty. So it's a really intense show, guys. There's a lot of, say, emotions behind this show. So if you're one of those individuals who've gone through eating disorders, or if your family member has gone through some eating disorders, you most likely might have uh, contributed to that, or it might have affected you as well. Okay. All right. So again, just like always, we're just very intense. We'll get to the point. There's no bullshit on the show. It just is what it is. It's raw. Tell you exactly the way I see things. And by the way, the knowledge that I impart on you is not my knowledge. It's not research. I haven't gone to like Chat GPT and rehashed the same old knowledge that's been around for, I don't know, the millennia, and then we just keep rehashing it. And scientists, psychologists, doctors, and whoever else, they just keep rehashing the same old thing. And especially with Chat GPT now, because well, Chat GPT is just basically knowledge that's on the internet, and then people just rehash that thing, put their little spin on it, and then it's, gosh, it's new knowledge. But again, the core level of that knowledge was probably discovered or talked about, again, hundreds or maybe even thousands of years ago. We just put our spin on it, depending on, say, the advancement in technology, the advancement in societies, and that's why in today's world, uh, humans kind of devolved, they've flatlined, technology has increased. So again, we keep repeating the same pattern. If you look at Ray Kurzweil's singularity, this is why we are at that singularity point where technology will bypass or go beyond, say, the consciousness of humans, and that's where things get really messed up. So we have a point in time that we can turn that around by awakening us. The reason why I talk about that on this eating disorder is because a lot of times the core level issue is, well, we're not ourselves. We're renditions of our past. Just like we've recreated ourselves, recreated the same old problems. Look at the problems today. Look at the war that's happening today. Those are all rehashes because we don't know what else to do. We don't know what else to do to solve these problems because we just rehash the same old solutions to new world problems. So what happens is, as we recycle ourselves, we start to lose ourselves. We start to, say, reclaim things of the past. And this is where identity issues happen for people. Whether you're at a societal level, a lot of people have, say, identity issues today. Okay. Or whether it's a familiar pattern. A lot of people, again, in today's families have identity issues. So in familial patterns, you'll have like eating disorders. That's one of the offshoots of repeating those old patterns. Again, patterns that aren't you. In societal patterns, we have, like, say, for example, say, sexual identity issues, and cultural issues, and see, race issues, and so on and so on and so on, prejudice, basically. In familial issues, we have identity issues, again, sexual issues, sexual identity issues, and then eating disorders is one of it. Um, um, Religious issues in families as well. Today we're going to be, and many more issues, but today we're going to just be focusing in on eating disorders. So the first ask is what causes eating disorders? The first question on that, and people wonder about, what are the underlying causes of eating disorders. Okay, and by the way, this is a group chat, so if you if you want to ask specific questions, I do take a look at the comments on here, and then afterwards I'll be scanning you for, say, specific eating disorders. And I think um, we might even have um, an impact group on people who have eating disorders. So, not exactly sure. You can check with the team on that. And impact sessions are those individual is a session on Moss on Sunday where we'll go through and scan live individuals and tell them exactly why they have the eating disorders that they have, just to help you understand at a, say, one-on-one level on why the eating issues occur. So again, people always wonder what the underlying cause of eating disorders is. Kind of went into that. People talk about genetic, psychological issues, societal pressures, and environmental influences. Okay, so yes, those are the surface level issues. But what I was talking about, again, what we do is we repeat our patterns over and over and over again. Hence, we are not ourselves. So let me just explain what causes, say, the eating disorders, and we'll get into the details on the different types of eating disorders and what it's caused by. So when I say that, we keep repeating our patterns, so this is we keep repeating, say, the recipe of who makes you, for example. So take a breath in, just close your eyes if you need to. Notice your throat, especially those who have eating disorders. We'll work on you as we go through the process. I've been struggling with eating disorders for 55 years. Can you help me? Again, I'm not a doctor or anything, but I've helped a lot of people with a lot of issues. So yes. All right. And maybe we'll take that specific individual as an example. So Mel, for example, yeah, I've been struggling with eating disorders for 55 years. Let's take Mel as a live case example for this. Okay, so Mel to me, and again, I don't know Mel. He could be using his not his real name. I don't know his picture. Again, it's just through my abilities that we all have and what I teach through healing mastery on how to, say, have the same abilities that I do. Again, we're all the same individuals if we start to realize that. So Mel, for example, repeating old patterns. So Mel is really, really an old. Some people will call it an old soul. Okay, in his case, so these are the positive sides. He's very, say, spiritual. He's very connected. He's intuitive. In his younger days, it's like when he was like 5, 6 years old, people, his grandma and so on, it's like, oh gosh, he's such an adult. He talks about older things. And again, Mel, comment in if that's accurate. Okay. So what does that mean? Right. So that's the surface level, and it sounds pretty cool. But here's the deal, and this is why people have issues that lead to genetic issues and lead to psychological issues and lead to societal patterns and environmental influences. Okay. So the underlying reason, or the first principal reason, on why Mel and so many individuals, in this case, have eating disorders, is that they are a repeat pattern of generations past. So for Mel, for example, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, he goes 10 generations back. So what that means is, say, 10 generations ago, which is a hell of a lot of people. If you go 12 generations back, there's about over 4,000 individuals that had to be around to create you. Just think of it. Over 4,000 individuals that had to be around to create you. Okay. So you are a rendition of about 4,000 individuals. So in human genetics or human evolution, again, what happens is look at you and then just go back. You are a version of your parents, mom and dad, right? It's a mixture of the two. Boom. So what happens is They go back. They're your parents, again, four people. So your parents are a version of their parents. So that's four people. So your again, your grandparents are a version of their parents. So now, what do you got? Eight people, right? Or 16, whatever, whatever. So um, can't do math right now. But do you see how it just keeps doubling and doubling and doubling? Okay. So Mel, for example, 10 generations back, that's a lot of patterns that's accumulated over time. Okay. Just to make it real simple for you. Imagine that there's a mixing bowl. Okay. Just imagine the mixing bowl. It's a huge mixing bowl, or it could be a small one for you. But notice how it just shows up. XI visuals are a little different. So 10 generations ago, your great grandparents, created their lives. Okay. And then they put in their ingredients, their recipe of their life. Yeah, chaos, abuse in this case. From what I'm seeing, a lot of people running away. There seems to be cheating in your family as well, rampant cheating on one another. From what I'm seeing as well, Mel, for you. So again, that was 10 generations ago. They had kids. They passed that bowl on to the kids that they had. So what happens again is that kids put their ingredients in there. They didn't take any ingredients out. They just put more ingredients in there. And then what happens is that those kids put more ingredients. Again, the key is that they didn't take any ingredients out. So by the time it gets to Mel in this situation, there's a hell of a lot of ingredients that don't need to be in there. And then there are a lot of ingredients that are doubled up. Like somebody put, say, a pound of abuse in there, and then the next generation down put another pound of abuse, or maybe a bit more, and so on and so on. And sometimes those ingredients just don't mix. There's certain ingredients in foods that you just don't put together, right? Because they just don't mix. They're not part of that same, say, food group, or again, the um, like. Um, Sorry, guys, I'm just forgetting my words here, because there's a lot of you all over the place. I'm working on you all as a group, and then also trying to create my words. So just give me a second here. Let's take a deep breath in. Back to my example. There are certain foods that should be not mixed together. Right? That it's just not appropriate. It's just not right. It doesn't taste very good. So imagine again all the foods or all the ingredients in your life that shouldn't have been mixed together. That is, for example, abuse and success. Those are nasty together. They just won't taste good. Right? I can't give you maybe like say ice cream and a steak. Ice cream on your steak, it probably wouldn't taste the best for you. Okay, I don't know. Some people might like it, but again, that's just an example. Okay, maybe you guys can give me an example on what wouldn't taste good. So again, abuse and success. So if you have abuse, that means I mean, if you have success, it means it's wrapped around in a sandwich of abuse. Right? Now, what does this mean to eating disorders? Well, if you have your identity, when every time you look in the mirror, that identity is not you. Again, every time you look in the mirror, that identity that you're is reflecting back on you is not you. It's an ingredient list of all the other people behind you. You are just a mere fraction of the ingredient that went into your mixing bowl or your recipe. In the animal world, what happens is that they look at every generation. What happens is that they look at the ingredients that was in the past, and they go, oh, wait a second, it's a new mixing bowl for this, say, animal, or tree, or whatever it is that nature creates. Okay, let's just say a fox family. Right, the next generation down, they don't keep passing down the bowl. What they do is they look at the bowl and they go, wow, Okay, this ingredient worked, so we'll take that. We'll take this ingredient. We'll take this ingredient. We'll take this ingredient. Oh wait, this ingredient didn't taste so good. This was that virus, that whatever that caused that virus. So we'll remove that, or we'll take an antidote for that virus and we'll put that in. So one after the other. So as you clean up, you truncate or you cut off the old patterns of the past so your kids don't have to have those issues now. Okay. What are the different types of eating disorders? Um, there's obviously another specified feeding or eating disorders. So anorexia. Okay. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Awesome. Again, guys, sorry, we're just having some technical issues. Um, all right. So, what are the different types of eating disorders? So, let's talk about anorexia. Anorexia is basically, people think that they're like overweight, they're fat, although they're skin and bones. Why does that happen? Okay, this goes into say the multidimensional self or different realities or different dimensions of self, basically. So, you as a whole are a multidimensional being. Okay, and you become a multidimensional being of your possibilities, but again, going a step deeper into how all this works, what happens is that you, for example, are a pattern of your moms, you're a pattern of your dads, a pattern of your aunts, you're a pattern of so on and so on. So it's not just, you're not just having the same mixing bowl. What's happening for you is you're connected to, say, their consciousness. Whether they're dead or alive, it doesn't really matter. And then here's the deal, say that they were fat. Okay. And it doesn't have to be, say, your parents, it could be, say, a presence, an unseen being that connects with you as well. Okay. So some of you who think that you are possessed or controlled, that's where that comes from as well. So that identity is fat. Okay. So when I said, so when you look in the mirror, what you're seeing is again the presence of the identity, not your physical form. Okay? So let me say that again. So when you look in the mirror and you feel yourself, you are not feeling who you are. You literally are, say, experiencing an altered state of consciousness. You look in the mirror and you go, "Oh shit, that's not me. I'm that you're just overweight." So again, you're not seeing the skin and bones. That's how, say, concentrated or real, because it is real, it's just in a different, say, plane of time and space, a different dimension, not of yourself, of somebody else. So you're not of this reality. That's why, say, people who are anorexic, you look at them and they're not of this reality. They're not completely here. They're connected. So their body is here, but they think their body is over here. So again, their consciousness think that their body is over here, but this body is not the physical form that everybody else sees. So anorexia is of that nature. Okay. So so that's how anorexia works. Hence, shit, I'm fat, I'm overweight, because they're seeing this identity that is fat, overweight, whatever it might be, and then they don't see this. It's really kind of crazy. So again, in XI, what we do is merge the realities, and they go, "Oh my goodness," and then they start to see who they are. Okay? So again, it's a deeper issue that can be resolved through XI. Let's go into bulimia. I think um, bulimia is when you eat, right, and then you throw up. So this is the same situation, right? This is usually what happens is people in the past, whether previous lifetimes or again generational patterns, those individuals have gone through, say, um, some kind of famine or lack. So what they do is, say for example that you're in the desert, you haven't eaten for a long time, okay, and then what do you do when you see food? You just like eat, right? You totally eat, you eat away, but then you eat too much, and then what happens? again, because the consciousness or the memory of, say, starvation or famine back in the day, back in your family, okay, especially through wartime, there's been a hell of a lot of wars in every culture. You're, say, the downline of that culture. So you would overeat. And then what would happen if you overeat? You overeat, and then you would have to throw up. Right? So if you just force yourself to overeat, you naturally would have a gag reflex to throw up. Okay, and that's what would happen. So let's take a breath in. Let's help you start that process. So it's a lot of these. Have you noticed? It's not even your issues, guys. Really, not your issues. Binge eating. So binge eating comes from comes from this is more those types of individuals who would say hurt themselves or cut themselves somehow. So binge eating, what happens um, is that your physical, your time bound self, your physical formation here, your body, excuse me, your body, and then if you want to call it your timeless self, or if you want to call it your spirit. I just don't like that we use the word spirit because then it gets into religious and spiritual aspects. But for most people, let's call it your spirit. So what happens is that your identity, again, your consciousness thinks that you are in point A, B, C, again, within the 3D realm here. Okay. And then your consciousness, you think you're together like this. But then what those people who binge eat, basically what happens is that something triggers them and then they lose placement of, say, spatial referencing. They lose placement of their identity in this reality. Okay? Their family value structures and so on are so strong, again, from previous generations, again, previous recipes, that they get pulled out of their body. They literally feel like they're dying or getting pulled out of their body. So what do? Just like those individuals, again, they're like separating, right? They're losing placement of their identity, of who they are at a very, very deep level. It goes way beyond the concepts of the brain, by the way. It's not a mental, none of these are mental disorders, although it turns into a mental disorder. And as they start to separate, they go, oh shit, I'm losing my identity. Where am I? Okay. Imagine a Bluetooth receiver. Okay, you're connected. The reception is great. Okay, and then you start moving away from the source. The source is, again, the higher consciousness, the super intelligence for you sciencey type. It's the identity that created you before you even had a brain. When you were Before you were even a single cell, there was a blueprint of you to create that single cell, and then multiple cells, and then fast forward into your brain, and then, so again, you are not your brain, you are not your mental state. That's an after effect of, again, what I'm talking about, or that super intelligence that created you. Okay, so that's the level that I'm talking about. That super intelligence, say, loses track of your physical body, and then, just like a Bluetooth receiver, just like a Bluetooth connection, right? You start to move away from the source, and it's like, oh gosh, I'm dying. I feel so. What do? You abuse yourself. People who binge eat basically just eat because of that. They're always losing track of who they are. Hence, in physical form, they're going to have, say, problems. So they escape their problems. Basically, those problems actually are beneficial for you, because if it wasn't those problems, you'd start to be more suicidal. Sounds kind of crazy. I know that. But just think of it. When people start to, again, separate or disconnect, they become depressed or suicidal. Okay. So what do? They cut themselves, they abuse themselves. In this case, they binge eat. They eat because food is actually more than just physical nutrition here. What they do is like, oh gosh, okay, the food is inside me. That means I can locate myself. It's like those in Apple. I was at the Apple store the other day. The find me tags. I don't know what they call it in Apple nowadays, but you just put this tag on your luggage, right, or whatever, and then you can coordinate where uh, you can find where you left your luggage or your phone or whatever, right? Or the app that says find my phone. Literally is it's like that. So when you eat, it's basically you turn on that app says find my phone, and then it feels so good because you're reconnected again. And this is where again binge eating starts to become that habit for you. Okay, sounds kind of crazy. Again, for especially those psychologists or people go, well, no, it's just because of a brain, a brain chemical or hormonal disturbances. Yes, those are after effects of what I'm talking about. If you fix this, the hormones, the brain defects, and all those stuff from the clients that I've had start to resolve as well. Okay, binge eating. I think we went through all of that. Okay. Abusive patterns. So this is where let's just talk about abusive patterns. So this is where people who have had abuse in the past because of their beauty. I know a lot of women like this, right? They've been abused as an infant. Literally, they've been abused, or the previous lifetimes, or again generational patterns. Because abuse usually is not, say, a single generation issue, although it did start somewhere. But in today's world, it's usually back in the day. Okay, so somewhere back in the day, you were abused for your identity of who you were. Right? It could be for your beauty. It could be for not so beautiful individual. Either way, you want to change that or you want to protect yourself. So this is where people start to say overeat, although they know they shouldn't, to protect themselves. Right? Again, a lot of women do this because I just met this woman that I worked on in New York. Uh, Very beautiful, but she gained a lot of weight. Right? The reason is what that she got abused because she had, say, she was a little over curvy when she was younger. So again, a lot of attention that she didn't know how to handle. One of the best ways that she figured it out is like, well, shit, I'll just overeat. And then people won't look at me. People won't abuse me. People won't attack me. So again, those are some of the reasons why we um, 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 have eating disorders. And even that, eh, overeating, for example, or not eating, either way, is an identity issue that I talked about earlier. Okay, it's an offshoot of that. How can you recognize the signs and symptoms? It goes deeper than just eating or dieting the way you do. If you yo-yo diet, again, it's probably the deeper cause of that is what I just talked about. Some of the symptoms, signs and symptoms, is one. You feel like you're not yourself. When you look in the mirror, look in your eyes and you go, shit, that's not me. That's one of the biggest signs that you can recognize. Again, spatial referencing, as we teach on the 18-day hyper meditations. You start to also recognize that in one situation, say you're one person, in another situation, you're a totally different person. I'm not saying your personality changes because we all change here and there, according to, say, the person that we're connected with and all that. But at a very, very deeper level, that person is not you. You literally change your identities according to whoever you are. Say, for example, your mom. To please your mom, you had to be, persona X. And then your dad comes in, especially if they're, say, alcoholic. Your dad comes in. I'm probably reading a few people here. Your dad comes in, and it's like, gosh, you know what? Dad's not going to understand me. He's he's drunk, and then I'll just do something to please him. I'll just morph, and you're not just you're not just morphing, say, your the way you talk to them. You're not just morphing or changing or adapting how you, say, connect with them physically, your actions, your verbal communication. You actually, say, transform your identity, your frequency of who you are to please them. It goes that deep. So those are some of the signs that you might have eating disorders. Other aspects of yourself is like you walk into a room and you pick up the patterns of the room, the general, say, mastermind that gets created whenever two or more individuals come together. That creates a mastermind, that third individual. And it's always, so it's like if it's two people, if it's 10 people, if it's a million people, again, it always creates one more personality that dictates and controls the rest of the group, and it's a mastermind. Okay. What happens is that a person walks in to, say, a mastermind, a church group, a friendly get together, whatever it might be, a family reunion, like you will in the holidays. Okay. And then, so especially in the holidays that, that we're getting into, Thanksgiving's, right around the corner for the Americans. You go into that family mastermind. Do you notice when you walk into the door of your house that you used to, say, live in, especially if your parents, you go to your parents' house and so on. And then what happens? What do? You morph into that person of your younger days, right? You automatically like so say you left your house at 20, you're 40 now, you've got kids, you walk back into that house, you turn into that 20-year-old that your parents see you as. Again, that's part of the family mastermind. So that, when you switch like that and you can't help it because it's not a mental thing. It's like, shit, how did I get here? How do I pull myself out? Those are also symptoms. And there's many, many more. If you start to tend to say, hurt yourself, or again, in many different ways. Um, if you have a poor me type attitude, that's not you either. If you are always admiring somebody else and not yourself, especially if you of say you have a great body, or beautiful face, whatever it is, or you're really good at tennis, or you're really good, and then somebody else has the same, say, attributes. They've got a great body. You'd always find yourself picking on who you are and you not being good enough. Again, those are all patterns, okay, that or symptoms of you might have an eating disorder or a personalities issue and a personal identity. Again, it's not the mentalness, the mental state of who you are. So, what are the health consequences of eating disorders? Obviously, I think we can get an idea. Short term, long term. The key is, well, short term. Obviously, you're not. It's not just about eating disorders. Your identity of who you are really starts to suffer. You don't enjoy life. You're not complete of who you are. That's the key. No matter what you do, if you have an eating disorder, your success will not satisfy it. Your relationships, although they might anchor you, again, will not satisfy who you really are. It doesn't really matter because it goes into, say, a deeper level. Again, altered states of identities, basically. Right? You have to resolve that altered state or that distorted state. So, and then the consequences of that, again, is what we talked about. But the long term consequences is like if you have kids, then you pass that on generationally. So again, ten generations back, uh, identity issues. Again, now look at how many people down the line, 10 generations back, over 4,000 people would have had to have messed up generational patterns to create you, for example. Now look at society. Look at society's pattern. Do you see how that, say, snowball? It's a snowball effect. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. That's so it's not just you having, say, eating disorders. Overall, society as a whole starts to have a disorder, an identity issue. Hence, today, look at the people. Nobody has an identity anymore. You're not even heterosexual. You're not, you're not a man. You're not a woman. Those identities are so blurred. Right? And it's not about just sexual identities. It's about who you are as a parent, who you are as a friend. All those lines get blurred. That's how crazy it gets. And let me give you an idea. Okay, I was reading the book Stealing Fire, and in there, that people who have such distorted identities, they don't have a clear concept of who they are. Okay, this is how crazy it gets. They literally don't have like a say. Imagine that you laid on the floor and somebody did a chalkboard outline for you. You don't know. You don't have an outline of your body, right? At a very deep level, at a brain level. Your brain can't say cognize the outline of your body. So what happens with those individuals is that they sit on a couch. They can't reference the couch different from their body. So they have a hard time distinguishing where the couch begins, where their body ends. That's how important, say, reference points are. Hence, we teach it a lot. Again, that's why it's so important as far as spatial referencing. Literally, people have an issue just spacing themselves. That's how bad it gets because they're so convoluted, they're so confused on who they are. Literally, they don't really understand like where their body starts, where their environment begins. Kind of crazy, right? So, and again, it's not a mental issue. It's not a brain function issue. It goes further back, although your brain is part of it. How are eating disorders treated? There's different treating modalities, therapies, medication, nutritional counseling, support groups, um, personalized treatments approach. At XI, we totally do it from a different level. I'm not saying any of those things are bad, but if you're not going to the core level issue that we talked about, again, spatial, right? Spatial referencing. Right? It's about, say, dimensions of who you are. It's about space and time. It's about your multidimensional self. Again, that goes way beyond the brain. Right? If we at XI, we work on you, pulling you back into the present moment and realizing and filtering out all those, say, recipe ingredients that aren't you. So we do that through frequency work, right? And not just, it's not energy work. It's very, very different. These are core level frequencies. Another way of putting at it is like we go into your blueprint, or again, that bowl of that recipe that created you, and we literally start pulling all the stuff that is not you, hence identifying you, hence pulling you into the present moment. So it's not a state of mental being when I say present moment. We literally disconnect you from all those things that aren't you, all those things that aren't your parents, even the good things of your parents start to disconnect, and we create your version of it for you. Many of you have gone through the process, right? Say your parents were beautiful, they had beautiful blue eyes, right? But then behind those blue eyes was a lot of abuse and a lot of, short, being shortchanged, or whoever, whatever it might be. Well, you have those beautiful eyes, beautiful blue eyes, but then you have all those other things associated with it. So what we do in that example is just, let's pull all that stuff out and give you a more brilliant, blue eyes, better than your parents did. And literally, people see it. Guys, comment in on those people who radically changed like that, right? So you take the best benefits of whatever happened in the past, just like nature does, and then we build on that. That's the core level issue. If you can do that, then your therapies would work. Other treatment modalities would work much easier and much faster for you. Okay. All right. So we just got a little bit of time here. Hopefully that clarified. Did that clarify everything, guys? And I'll just read some of you all. And again, this is just focused on, say, eating disorders. By the way, um, before we do that, a lot of good things coming up for you. We have the frequency spa coming up. Frequency spa coming up for you. Then we have a frequency spa subscription package, and then also for the rest of the meditations, the team will put it on the chat for you. The rest of the meditations that we're doing throughout the year, I think there's a package rate on that. Really, really powerful, especially as we end the year. On top of that, guys, what a way to begin the new year by going on a Tahiti cruise. Just it's called the meaning, discover the meaning of life cruise. This is where we get into, say, deep states of meditation, and will start to help you find, because in today's world, have you noticed that there's, people have tried so many things. They've tried Tony Robbins, they've tried Joe Dispenza, and again, there's nothing wrong with those brilliant people. They have a lot of great content, but then a lot of those individuals come to me and go, Moss, I got successful using Tony's stuff, but then there's still that emptiness. I'm still trying to search for that meaning of life. Well, I help you get that meaning of life, and that is on the Tahiti cruise, right? So who's all going to the Tahiti cruise, by the way? All right. So, oh, oh, okay, yes. So the biggest key too, guys, I forgot, is that mental health disorders. That's in January. So yeah, it's a mental health series, guys. It's on eating disorders. This is really a great way to start your new year out with the new you, the real you, not a compilation of uh, all these other people. Just think, you're a sequel. Your life is just a sequel of what happened in the past for you. You never want to be a sequels always suck, guys. Second movie is always not the best, right? This one, FP consciousness, Moss having trouble losing weight. Well, if you, for you specifically, FP consciousness, what happens is, seems like you're doing XI work, which is really nice. You're starting to come up. It's almost like a block for you that you're starting to come up. So where you are is really fantastic. That block has always been there, but whatever you've done with XI is actually showing us, hey, this is the block that you need to work on. So what you do when you face blocks is you turn around. You turn around, and this is where you start to, the burdens of your past, or the burdens of those problems that you should have resolved back in the day, keep adding on to you. So at a frequency level, you've got a ton of frequencies that are burdening you. At a physical level, well, you would have to say, have a bigger stance or a bigger space to hold on to all the problems that you should have resolved. So the bottom line problem for you specifically is that you need to resolve the problems in your life, rather than turning around, walking away from it, and then just like eating it up or keeping it in your system. So again, that's what you're going to experience. So congratulations, when you stand up for yourself, basically, and not just suck it up. You stand up for yourself, and then you start to solve problems. All the other things start to move away. The heaviness of your life moves away. So it's a physical rendition of the heaviness that's basically in your life, right? And this affects you're also carrying the worry or the pattern of your partner as well. Okay, so let's see. The last frequency spa helped me address my year-long skin issues. Fantastic. This one, Besa, please scan me. Let's see here before I lose you. So, Bessa, here's an example. You're always trying to please other people. Since you don't know who you are, especially when you're around, say, 14, 15 of age, it's like, well, you have an identity issue, right? A lot of teenagers do. And there's a reason for that I won't get into. But what we do is, it's like, should I be this person? Should I be this person? Should I be this person? So you have kind of like three go-to personalities that you use. Um, and then and then as you go through these three personalities, you literally step in. So you're an actress, think of it that way. Okay, you're playing this role, but that role is never you. That's the key. You can be that person. That's totally cool. You can morph into whatever personality that you want. But if you're just changing costumes and go, oh, I got to play this role, again, you'd be typecast, so to speak. And again, a typecast actor. Have you heard the terminology? Being a typecast, say, actor. Well, the audience have put you into a specific role that is not you. That's why those actors like hate to be, say, typecast, um, because that's not the real them. Okay? So in real life, you've been kind of typecast, basically. That's not the you. So what you're always trying to do is define who you are. So, so what I'm helping you with is like separate you, so you'll actually see the identities or the roles that you played in the past, and you go, wait a second, those aren't me. But the good thing is the benefits of those roles you can take on for yourself and create you. This one, Moss, please scan my nephew. Moss, he was diagnosed with anorexic. and depression. Thanks. Notice that anorexia or eating disorders are not just set for females anymore. Back in the day, a lot more females with identity issues, body issues, and so on. Again, most people think, well, it's a body issue, right? Or it's not. It started out as that, but again, the core reason is much deeper. And now more and more, say, men are having that. So with him, let's take a deep breath in. By the way, as I work on one individual, I'm working on others as well, even if you're listening to this as a recording. So for him, what's it seems like he got he got ill or somebody got ill when he was about 12 or 13. I want to say I might be off on the years on how old he is because his identity is not him. So, for example, like say at 8 years of age, so the worries of his mom, for example, okay, a female could be the father, but again, a feminine frequency. Um, so they had some issues or something, and then he carried the burdens of those issues. So again, say your parents, again, a female frequency, so it feels like the mom. So so he is carrying the burden of an older individual's older pattern. So you're 8, you're 10, you're 14, the burdens get more and more. You're a 14-year-old carrying the burdens of a 40 or a 50-year-old. That's a heavy burden for a kid, right? It weighs you down and it's like literally weighing that kid down. It's like, fuck, this isn't me. I should be having fun. And he looks at other kids around him. It's like, well, why are they having fun? Why is this burden on me? And he doesn't know what the burden is because he thinks it's his identity. And that's where again a disconnect of his identity compared to somebody else's identity comes in. So could definitely help him. I would suggest a longer session with him. Good comment, Billy. Typecasting is being locked onto an identity. Oops. um, so many comments, guys. Sometimes it's hard to hold on as it goes through. My muscle mass is not the same after COVID. Can you help me, please? That's Arden. So yes, for you, oh wow. Again, not a doctor or anything like that, but for you, what's happened is that your testosterone level. So you have a feminine frequency in the first place, from what I'm seeing. Um, Yeah. So, so you again are the bearer of say a feminine frequency, and then what happens is, I yeah. And then what happens for you where your muscle mass deteriorates is that your hormonal balance is off. That's basically what I'm getting into. So it's like, gosh, should I run more testosterone? Should I be more masculine, or should I run more estrogen and be more feminine? Right. So that's off. When you have COVID is an amplifier of whatever issues or symptoms that you have. For example, if you have heart issues, you're going to die in 10 years. Well, you're going to die in 3 months. With COVID. So, that kind of deal. And again, I'm not making any claims, but I've seen uh, hundreds or maybe thousands of people in the COVID and then what's happened to their body. Okay, um, so so for you, since you have hormonal type imbalance, COVID will say ex- you know, expand or geometrically distort those hormonal imbalances. So that's where your muscle mass deteriorates for you. Okay, my friend. So what you need to do is, if you've had the shot, it's even worse, the flu shot, or the the vax shot. Um, yeah, you're a mixture of your aunt, your mom, and everybody else around your family. It seems like there was a lot of female patterns around you. So this was Roya. Yes, I had my grandma blue eyes. Exactly. So just think, your grandma's blue eyes came along with it all the burdens of what your grandma saw. Okay, that's my key, guys. That is not you. You can keep the blue eyes, but let go of the burdens. Keep how your family got the success. You can keep your religions, but again, not the burdens of those religions. There's a lot of somebody you can use a hormone balance. Again, it's cleaning out. Somebody said that nicotine helps you clean out the long COVID symptoms, or even helps you with the back. So take a look at that. But need cleanse, nattokinase. There's some supplements that I posted a while back on my Telegram channel. You can take a look at that to clean out those symptoms, and then again help you say rebalance. Okay? Um is hypoglycemia connected to food disorders? Whenever I eat healthy, my sugar levels drop. So, hypoglycemia. So, your definition of eating healthy. So, you do your liver. Again, I'm not doctor or anything like that, but it seems like you have liver function issues. So, when you eat healthy, your liver doesn't know what to do with it. So, over time, I would just it's interesting. It's like whenever I eat healthy, we should be eating healthy all the time, not just once in a while. That's the difference, right? So your body or your liver has to get used to it, and the mixture of sugars and fats is not really, and that's really the problem. Seems like again that liver. So there's nothing wrong with cholesterol and fats and so on, but people have their steak and then they'll have their chocolate ice cream or cake or whatever. It's not a good thing to do, guys. Having meat and potatoes, not the best thing to do for you, because your liver doesn't know what to do, because those two things shouldn't mix uh, in your body. I know it sounds crazy and many people do that, but I would suggest actually, if you're gonna eat sugars, have your dessert before you have your cake. Okay? Kind of reminds me of the Pink Floyd song. um, anyway, um, let's get out of that phase. Sorry, just let's take a deep breath in. Guys, I'm working on so many people at one time. Again, you might be feeling it, even if I'm not um, verbally communicating with you. Infinite flow. They do not want to change your role. Absolutely. So again, it's that mastermind that just Uh, Moss, what about people who eat really slow and have difficulty? That could be like, again, brain function disorders. When you swallow, I think there's about five different, say, actions that get initiated. It's amazing. It's not just like, well, you just swallow. Those things are like, those things are brain functions. But by the way, eating sugars, modified sugars, corn, corn derived sugars, really destroys the body brain connection. Okay. This one, Jenny Dean, appreciate a scan. I'm free of eating disorders. It seems like what you've done and you're free of it, sure, and it's really good. But you have a solid identity of who you are. But basically, it's like uh, whoever you were, kind of went through Jenny Dean. Yeah, so Jenny Dean, basically what you do is like, okay, I am going to be this person. This person is strong, whatever, strong, supportive, whatever identity that you claim to be, which is really good. But basically, you've got this other identity that you keep pushing down. Right. So yeah. So what that means is like, no matter what, I am going to create this identity of who I am. So what we do with XI is like, yeah, let's create this identity, but let's create it for real, not just a facade or an actor of who you are. And then as we create this identity, a solid identity of who you are, you don't have to always say push yourself to be this person. You just naturally are this person, Jenny. So you create, say, this solid identity, and then you can look back and see what actually happened to you back in the day that might have, say, hurt you, and that kind of distorted you, right? Distorted you, where it's like, gosh, I don't want to be that. So you're pushing away your old self to create this new self, but neither one is you just yet. So what we do is like, yeah, that's a great self that you've created, Jenny. Let's just absorb that into your genetics, your frequency that you're vibing at. And then when you're alone, you always don't have to keep pushing yourself. This is where you have a lot of, say, willpower to do the things that you do. Again, you always are constraining, or again, holding on to this identity. And with XI, you don't have to hold on to it because you just are that identity. Okay, so it's a really nice place to be. Thanks, Billy. Another brick in the wall. Yep. This one, Manasa Puranic. Sorry if I mispronounce it. What's happening with me? I tend to starve myself. So, so there's a non-deserving pattern in your comes from a grandma, from what I'm seeing, which affected your mom. So, um, oh, so your grandma seems like so your grandparents. Um, yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but your grandparents, say your grandfather, great grandfather, say cheated on your mom, cheated on his wife. Okay, that kind of scenario. And again, it's not about the cheating. There's a good reason to cheat, and not. It's not anything. But in this situation, the issue is that um, your so that wife goes, shit. Well, why am I not good enough? And then what do, right? And no matter how beautiful you are, you always seem to go, well, gosh, it's because of my the way I look. And then that person, say, starves themselves to get into shapes to reclaim the relationship. Hence that impact that has impacted you. Hence you go, shit, well, why do I not feel good about eating? Well, that's the reason, because you genetically, you say, inherited that pattern. Okay. um, yeah, this one, Arian, I didn't take the shot. If you had COVID, it's still, especially if you had long COVID. This one, NXLXN. Moss, could you scan my self image patterns? Yeah. So you're a comparer. Say that you go into the store and you want to buy, I don't know, TVs. Okay. You'll compare like 4 or 5 TVs. There's always like more than two choices for you, by the way. That's why I say you're a comparer. So three or more in a lot of situations. So you have three or more choices. It could be like a relationship that you're in. It could be a job that you're in. It could be whatever, but it's more than two. Okay. So with that in mind, so when you're shopping for a TV, you compare and you might do this actually shopping. Again, that's part of that. That's a part of that pattern that I'm talking about. And then what you'll do is like, well, this TV has this TV has this. Okay. But then you keep comparing. That's the problem. You never purchase. You just keep comparing because you're not sure on which TV to buy. So your personality identity, your self-image is like you keep comparing yourself. You keep comparing yourself to 4 or 5 different opportunities or different people and so on. And then so what you want to do is have a solid identity of who you are. And that's what the XI meditations and some of the other things that we're doing, especially the cruise, again, the meaning of life, basically, will do. You keep identifying what you want to do is like you have a solid identity of who you are. And then if you like an option that's not yours yet, okay, or that other TV has, it's like, oh, I like that option. Hmm. How can I create that frequency so that option is part of me now rather than going back and forth on that? Okay. Um, let's see, guys. This one, hey Moss, what do you see happening for those who are experiencing difficulties absorbing nutrition from their foods? So we'll take two more, that one, and then Henry. Uh, can a head trauma affect eating disorders? Yes. So, what do you see happening for those who are experiencing absorbing nutrition? Again, there's lots of different reasons for it. A lot of times, since the foods that we eat, again, like plasticized foods from pesticides or fertilizers or what's in the air. You get a lot of plasticity. Your body just doesn't know what to do with that. So a lot of times, people that I see, what they have is like they literally have a plastic coating in their intestines, and then you can't absorb. Hence, this is where you get a lot of symptoms, and you get more and more sensitive to foods, and um, you're not absorbing. There's certain bacteria has to do a lot with, say, bacterial growth in your system. There's tons of bacteria that break down the food, obviously. Okay, so bacteria and so on is actually good for you, but in today's world, there's a cleanliness. Literally, it's becoming freaky clean. It's not good for you guys. Bacteria is necessary for you to, say, endure and absorb, by the way. Okay. And it goes into a deeper problem. Our food is so pasteurized. It's so whatever. It's basically dead because all the bacteria, all the things that are beneficial for you in those foods, well, they're dead. So when you're eating something, back in the day, a farmer, you'd be planting your own foods, right? You'd pick that whatever carrot or whatever, you'd brush it off on your pants, and then you'd eat part of that dirt. You'd eat part of that bacteria. You'd eat the biome that's of the nature in you, and then it just like resets you. We don't do that anymore. Everything is like I don't know, killed off, sprayed, all those things. So you're eating dead food. And that's one of the major causes on why people don't absorb. So what I would suggest is growing your own food initially. I know it sounds kind of crazy, or going to a country that goes from farm to table and eat some of the, it sounds weird, but eat some of the dirt, and you go, God, that's crazy. But bentonite clay, when you're eating bentonite clay, what the hell is that? You're eating dirt with bacteria in it. So it sounds crazy, guys, but people who can absorb really well start eating. There's a lot of weeds probably around you that have really medicinal value for you. Again, not all. Some of them might be poisonous. So check which ones have medicinal value. Start eating plants that grow in and around your area, right? Or some of the dirt that grow in and around your area. It'll help you reset that, and it'll help you regenerate that bacteria. And it sounds crazy, but this one guy, I forgot his name. Most of the time, he is an amazing. I saw this documentary, little film clip on him, and he can regenerate soil that's been destroyed. The nutritional value has just been sucked out by putting in the bacteria and the biome that land needs to regenerate, and he can regenerate a space of land in less than 5 years versus taking, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 years to regenerate. He does a lot of work with the forest and so on like that. Really, again, really nice XI technology. And then, can head trauma affect eating disorders? Absolutely, especially if, um, yeah. So, the lower left part of the brain affects, again, this goes into not just eating disorders, but self image issues. What happens, people in that who get damaged in that area have kind of a glitchy feel of who they are. So their self identity gets a little glitchy. Their physical features get a little glitchy for them. So it's not just an eating disorder. They literally, sometimes they'll put their hand out and their hands would like glitch. So when they're reaching out for something, for example, they might not know where that exactly it is. So that's that kind of pattern. So that might affect your eating disorders for you, or whoever I'm reading has that issue. Okay. All right, guys, we could go on, but we won't. Um, it's been a great show. Hopefully, this has helped. Comment in. And remember to like the channel, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends about the channel, so we can have more and more first level solutions to the world, so to the problems of the world today. Okay? And that's where we create a whole new world. All right, guys. Peace.